I'm Phil Lovett, and my quest to win an e-cycling race on Zwift resumes, with a couple of loops taking in central London and the Surrey countryside, including a brace of short but sharp ascents up the renowned Box Hill. Today, the race is courtesy of the Eastern Canadian Quest Series, which is a very happy coincidence because I'm taking my inspiration from Team Tibco SVB, following an outstanding 2019 season on the UCI World Women's Tour and the US Tour, including 3 standout victories from their all-rounder and Canadian Alison Jackson. I set off eagerly to apply the fitness accrued during my 14 days of high intensity. But does my racecraft and pacing improve? Of course not. So from the comfort of my sofa, I'll apply some retrospective wisdom and break down what I did wrong.
Welcome to the Fast, the Furious and the Downright Curious. I'm 5 seconds away from the start of the Eastern Canadian Quest Racing Series. This is Bike Racing Without Mercy, my quest to win an e-cycling race on Zwift. And we're off to a predictably fast start. There's a long way to go. Looks like the route is going to take us through the flat part of London first, and then we're going to hit the Surrey Hills. So today, I'm looking to see if all the training tips, courtesy of Brodie Chapman, Team Tibco SVB, i.e. the 40-20s and the threshold training, help improve my racing performance. I haven't raced for a little while, so I'm going to try and place myself safely in the bunch and conserve energy. It's about 30 odd kilometres. Now it's pretty cool that today's race is a Canadian race because I'm looking to ride in honour of Alison Chapman from Team Tibco SVB. Now Alison's had a really super 2019 so far. She won the White Spot Delta Road Race, and recently she came second in GC at the Women's Tour of Scotland. And generally, Team Tibco SVB are having a really cool 2019. As I say, Brodie has won the Tour of the Gila. Kendall has run quite a few sprints as well. And Alison, on her way to second spot in general classification in the Women's Tour of Scotland, also won a stage, helped by Brodie Chapman getting into the break and then taking a massive solo effort, which meant that the Tibco SVB team were not expected to chase on in the bunch and conserve energy. Oh, I'm off the front. Very remiss of me. And I also want to say best of luck to Nina Kessler, because in the Prudential Ride London road race, unfortunately she and Kendall got caught up in a really nasty crash, not of their making, right at the end, just before the bunch sprint. And she's broken her clavicle. Wishing you a very speedy recovery, Nina. I salute you. Just out the chair, the seat, sorry. Just give my hamstrings a stretch. Doing this at the high power part of the London course. Allowed myself to get dropped off the very front, so I'm just going to put a steady pace to get back in. Well, that wasn't exactly the epitome of steady. This is replicating the 40/20s into threshold, I guess.
And here we are at 9 minutes in, and carelessly I allow myself to fall off the back of the bunch, which means I've got to spend yet more precious energy to get back in amongst them. And I've probably already overinvested in the first part of the race, and I'm starting the first KOM probably a little bit too depleted, in all honesty. But I do get myself back into a nice little position here in amongst the bunch, shielded from the air resistance, the virtual air resistance, and benefiting from the draft. And the watts start to climb. And the strongest Cat A riders obviously sent blood. Mine. So they start to really lay down the power, and foolishly I decide to join them, really cashing a check I can't afford, and will struggle to pay a little bit later, not too much later. But like a kid's football match, I chase after the ball. All sense of tactics and perspective lost to try and stay with people who are frankly a lot better than me. And the 5 to 5.5 watts a kilogram just isn't sustainable for me, even over a relatively short climb like this. And I kind of know this, but I keep on investing, doubling down. Like a gambler at a casino table trying to recoup their losses. But this is a false hope, and you can see my watts are starting to drift down a little bit into the mid-4s. 4 watts a kilogram, that is. And the riders behind me, sense that if they hang on my wheel, they're going to lose out, so they move past as I'm now sub 4 watts a kilogram. But if there's one thing I can do reasonably well, it's kind of regroup and switch on my diesel engine and grind out basically something in and around threshold. And so that's what I decide to do, and just accept that people are going to come around me, and try and do as much as I can to kind of teeter on the edge of going over my capabilities but not giving enough, in order to hang on to as many wheels as I can, or at least keep them in sight. So here I am hitting my rhythm, a very predictable 4 to 4.4 watts a kilogram. And my hope is rising. Can I gradually claw my way back onto the back of this bunch and recover on the descent? And by bunch, I clearly don't mean the front 2 or 3 riders. I'm talking about the next 5 or 6. And you can see I'm putting out reasonable power here. I haven't dropped below 4 watts a kilogram, and generally it's been in the 4.5 to 5, but that isn't enough to hang with this group. And frankly, I just need to build my fitness more. But I do see, out the corner of my eye, that T Sato is starting to drop in terms of watts per kilogram. And so I now sent a little bit of blood, an ability to reel him back in. And that gives me something cool to aim at. I'm also keeping an eye, a weather eye, on Oliet Wolfpack. Something just tells me that he's writing checks he can't afford as well. And there we go. First mini mission accomplished. T. Sato hauled back by the diesel engine. Don't worry, I won't lose him. Now, up to this point, T. Sato's been better than I, but in a very ungentlemanly manner. I go past him at the top of the hill, Box Hill. My intent now really being to lay down enough power to get up to 60 kmh and deploy the aero tuck and bring my heart rate back down. But before that, there's one last little kick up. And so I steel myself for another surge of power. Encouragingly, I see 2 riders on the horizon. One of them being Mr. Wolfpack. And here, the time is now appropriate to put down some decent power on the descent in order to get above 60 kmh. And here we go. Gradients more than 5% negative.
Going back across Tower Bridge and past the Tower of London. Try to stay around threshold. I had a good recovery on the descent from Box Hill. You can see in the middle of the screen 0 watts, a significant time, because I got into the aero tuck. Just approaching Box Hill. Just starting the climb now, 33, 35. Gears, worked out the head slipped, put the wrong gears. In the aero tuck now there. .9k to go. I'm hoping to break in with a sustained pace. Oh, come on, gears.
Well, that was a tough race, lots of ups and downs, and 2 very challenging ascents at Box Hill, but overall I'm pretty happy. I averaged 266 watts, normalised around about 277 watts, and really what it's highlighted to me is that I need to continue to work on my 40/20s, because where I got dropped was on the first ascent of Box Hill, where the better Cat A and B riders really put down a hammer in terms of watts per kilogram and dropped me, when in reality over the entire race my normalised power 277 watts, around about 4.1, 4.2 watts a kilogram, and my average power 266 watts is in the ballpark. So I feel that if I continue to work on my threshold efforts but also my 40/20s, improvements in positioning are sure to come. So I guess reasonably satisfied with 7th out of 38, but a lot more work to do in order to materially improve on that. And to Team Tibco SVB, thank you very much as ever for the inspiration, and I wish you all the very best of luck for the rest of the season and hopefully the World Championships. And Nina, as ever, wishing you a speedy recovery. And to the aficionados of watts, revolutions and BPM, please do check out my stats on Zwift Companion or Zwift Power. And as ever, please remember, whoever you are and whatever you do, live, thrive and subscribe.